Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Alex Floyd, and I am so excited to be working with this project. I've been dancing my whole life, but learning as many new things as I can all the time. So I never trained in one specific style. I always wanted to be well-rounded. So since the time I was very young and I was taking ballet and tap and jazz, then I started taking modern. And then when I was a young teen, I started taking summer intensives at Cleo Parker Robinson Dance, and they offer everything under the sun. So I was learning different West African styles. I was learning Latin jazz. I was learning um, more tribal things from specific areas from teachers that they had hired in from East Africa or Panama or just all around the world. So I got a wonderful, well-rounded experience in that. And I proceeded to go to college at the University of Wyoming to study dance. And there I fell in love with choreography and um, learning how to create movement and put movement together and that's just escalated into my adult life. I moved out after school. I moved to Los Angeles to start my own dance company, and I wanted a fresh start. And I also worked with before I moved to LA. I worked with this company called Axis Dance, and they work with disabled and able-bodied dancers. And that was one of the most wonderful and eye-opening experiences to me, and it taught me a lot about teaching, and it taught me a lot about choreography and uh, dance for different bodies and every body. So I've learned and wanted to incorporate that into everything. So my dance company is called Audancity, and I like to focus that on the odd part because it's really for everyone. And I work with anybody who wants to work with me, and we make work that's very therapeutic, and it it's definitely psychological, and I'm able to create a lot, oftentimes collaboratively with whoever I'm working with dancer wise, and get feedback from them on specific things that they've gone through, mental illness, physical disorder. So I've worked in a well-rounded capacity in choreography as well, and that has led me also to working with this amazing nonprofit called the Young Choreographers Project. And I started as a mentor there, and I've grown all the way up to the admin, but I still am a mentor, and I am a program director there. And we share choreography with underserved youth, or a lot of different youth in LA area and Orange County as well. We bring like a 8-week program or a 4-week program to specific schools or dance studios, and we give them the opportunity to create their own dance, probably mostly for the first time for them, because it's not something that's widely available. Its availability is more common in dance technique classes, but most of the mentors we have would have killed for this opportunity. I would have loved to start choreographing when I was a teenager. So
Wow.
we're
So
hoping.
this is assisting young people to become choreographers, right?
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
that's wonderful.
So even if they don't necessarily want to go into dance full time or anything, it still allows them to be creative, and giving them the space and the tools to create something out of nothing is just a magical experience for them and us. And
Wow.
something that a lot of you don't notice, that a lot of teenagers aren't given that opportunity to have something like a blank canvas and just to create whatever they want. So you see a lot of empowerment and leadership come out of it, and self-expression. And so I've been working with that project for the last 4 or 5 years, and it's dear to my heart. So
Very rewarding. So how do you, to me, actually, I'm going to self-disclose a bit here. What interested me, the work you do, is actually coming from somebody with a limited physical ability. So, you know, I am a second of twins. And at birth, I had a brain accident that actually, I have a slight a limp on the right hand side. So, but when I was always self-conscious, and when I was young, I danced a lot, and I like to dance. And my husband is not the greatest dancer, but he's very willing, except that as I age, become much more self-conscious instead of less self-conscious. I mean, I'm less self-conscious in some aspects, but not. So I'm very uh, um, interested in how you like free movement and how you teach it. Meaning, how does one feel confident to get in touch with sort of a trauma that might be in the body, right? Because you're talking about psychological work. I'm also a therapist, so I'm bringing those elements. But it's very interesting to me because as I was certified in trauma, actually, a lot what came out of that certification is, and maybe you heard, or at least you hear here, Bessel van der Kolk that did his book is Body Bears the Burden.
Oh, okay.
And you might love this book. I will send to you the information. But basically, his approach to trauma is that talk therapy can go that far, and then you need to work with the body, and one of the biggest forms is dance. So I don't want to take over what you're presenting, but I'm very curious, how do you approach that? Like how I understand what dance is theoretically, but how is this different than just sort of giving directions and people follow?
Yes, and it's so different, and that's a great question. One of my favorite full-length works that I did, I think I had 4 dancers, and I had them each, we had a lot of talking in the beginning to decide how I was going to approach it, and we had each dancer tackle a different, for example, one of them suffers strongly from OCD, and so she explained to me what that meant to her, and so I created a piece based on what she was explaining to me. And so it was really fascinating because even if you didn't know what the piece was about, you could really get it, because she would go and do something very specifically, and then she would shake her head and then go back and do it again, and she would do something 5 times, or she would do another thing 3 times and then walk backwards. And so there was this pattern.
She will feel it in her body, like she would
Yes,
feel the response of the movement in her body.
absolutely. And so another example, a different dancer had, she suffers from sleep apnea, or sleep paralysis. And so she described that to me, and how the feeling that she gets. And so I would have all of the dancers, not just the one, as she was describing it, move their body in that way. So like lying flat and just what does it feel like to try to move but not let yourself move. And so it was like the minuscule movement, and fear in the face, and just the explosion of the internal body, and how does that read. And so there was a lot of small movements, but you could feel what they were saying. And so
Wow.
it is dance, it is dance, even though that piece was a little bit different. There wasn't so much, big movement, but the point was very clear. And we tackled a little bit with seizures, and so we really practiced in our body, like where a seizure comes from, and does it come from here, does it come from the gut, does it come from the belly, and like how does your body move, how can you make your body move in that way, and what does that feel like to you, and how can you explore that movement past your skin, even further then. So it really starts internally. So I think my approach in a broadscape would be starting with some kind of internal, maybe emotion or trauma or something that you've been through, and allowing that to read in the body and just exploring that. In the beginning, there's a lot of exploration. So how, I would give prompts in a way that's like, okay, so if you're feeling this way, what would your body do? Or if you see, and in a simplification way, I do this with kids when I'm teaching. If you're feeling afraid, what does your body do?
I
It
love it. Yeah.
recoils. And what if you're angry, what does your body do? It gets bigger. And so there's a lot of exploration in that, in a more fine-tuned
And
way. But
to
yeah, that's
me, in some aspects, I think a big thing is when you don't trust your body,
yes.
asking how your body feels for some people might be the first approach to knowing that, because a lot of kids that I work with are a lot in their heads, and in some aspects me too, and asking to come into the area of the body, so in the lower depths of your brain, to really access sort of really it's an element of surrender. It's an element of it's what people call at some point vertical integration, where you're bringing some awareness into the body that otherwise either is not trusted or has all kind of feelings towards the body that is not helping you quite as well as other people. So
Yeah.
I don't know if you had that experience at all with people that their bodies were not quite their friend.
Definitely. And I think I always try to start with breath, a lot of breath work. And
Nice.
something that my whole dance career and training, they never tell you to breathe, or they never allow you to make sound. And so I focus on that a lot, because it's so funny to go and watch these dance in real life and not hear anything. You don't hear sound, you don't hear breathing, and they don't make any vocal sounds. But in my work, I encourage vocal sounds, because I think that it comes from, your diaphragm and pushing out, even breath. I feel like at first the dancers will be too afraid to make noise because their whole training has told them not to, but I start them with breath and breathe loudly. I want to hear you breathing, and how many ways can you breathe, and how weird can you make it sound, And then after they have played with just air, then I can allow them to play with vocals, like voice or anything. And I've had dancers scream on stage, like bloody murder scream, because they were so in the moment, and that's what they felt like.
That
Real.
sounds also like yoga, where breathing,
Yes.
the traditional yoga that basically connects the physical with the breath, and uh, breath is what connects basically thought, a very immaterial thoughts are immaterial to the language too. So I mean, language is also immaterial anyway. I tried to make a different point, but so how do you want to show us some moves, and we can wrap it up, or how do you want to go from here? What do
Sure.
you want
I was
to do?
thinking, I guess, just for any, if people are gonna watch later, maybe
Please, yeah,
I
however you
would
want to.
do a little bit of breathing, and then I was gonna kind of just do like a mind exercise in the body. Um, and yeah, I can just start with that, and maybe a little stretch if you want, but I
Okay.
can do.
Yes,
Okay,
that's
great.
fantastic. If you give us directions, yes, thank
I
you.
will do that. All right, great. I'm gonna play a little bit of soundscape for us. So we're just going to start with breathing, and you can close your eyes if you want to. I'm going to stay sitting so I can see the screen better. So take a nice stock in your body and breathe in through your nose as much as you can, and hold it at the top, and exhale. And then as you feel, you can breathe on your own, but start to feel your body moving with your breath. So often I think of inhales as up and exhales as down. And you can move your limbs in this way. It can be small or as big as you want it to be. Think of yourself like a big balloon, inflating in the ribs and deflating in the whole body and inflating. And exhale. And you can keep your eyes closed if you want to, or you can open your eyes, and you're going to feel your heart in the middle of your body and think of it as a fire. And when you keep breathing, think of the fire expanding into each of your limbs, your arms, your hands, your feet, your legs, your knees, your head. Think of the fire expanding through your whole body, and you can allow yourself to move if you feel like you would like that. I invite you to move, thinking of each body part as a fire and the heat, and what does that heat make you feel? And if you want to stand, you can stand. I think I'm going to stand. Imagine that the fire is moving through your whole body. And then when you feel ready, turn the fire into water. And what does it feel like to move with your whole body made of water? Slow water, fast water, cold water, hot water. It can be any water that you want. You could be in a waterfall. You could be made of a waterfall. Keep breathing. And then when you're ready, I invite you to change your heart into a color, maybe red. So what does it look like if you can paint your surroundings in this color? Imagine that your fingertips are paintbrushes and your toes are paintbrushes. And once you finish painting one color, switch to the next color, maybe orange, maybe yellow, maybe green, maybe it's a full rainbow. And then when you're tired of painting with your fingers and your toes, paint with your head. Paint the ceiling, you can paint the air, you can paint the wall, and then paint with your knees or your elbows or your forearms or your shoulders. And focus on anywhere you've never been able to paint. And paint the corners of the room and the floor, and you can paint with your bottom, you can paint with your knees, you can paint with your back, and then switch colors. Maybe it's purple. What does it look like to move in purple? And then blue, and then black, and then gray. And once you've painted all your surroundings, let your body relax into a space that feels comfortable to you, and breathe. And maybe take a slow pathway to on all fours if that's possible for you. I'm gonna go diagonal a little bit, and we'll do some cat cow to release the spine. I like to keep the colors, so if you want to color your spine, you are welcome. You want to push your spine all the way to the ceiling, and then all the way to the floor, and then you can wiggle it around in whichever direction you like. Always remember that the spine is the middle of the body and the center of everything. So you want to open it and allow your heart to see the sky. And release, exhale. And when you're ready, you can come back to sitting and take some deep breaths. Is that good? Is that enough?
It's great. That was really, really nice. If you prepare an exercise like this for the following classes, that would be great too.
Perfect.
And yeah, this will work. This is wonderful because we can follow. I mean, I wasn't ready today, but maybe I'll do it next time where I'll be in a place where actually I can move myself instead of just looking at you. But I really, I'm getting what you're doing. That's wonderful.
Great.
Thank you. You want to add anything, or you are fine where we end now, or?
I think I'm, yeah.
You're good? Okay. Alex, it was a pleasure. Thank you so much for being part of our project. And
So nice to chat with you. Yeah.
thank you. And looking forward to more exercises and hopefully the in-person activities that hopefully we're going to live better times when actually we're going to resume our in-person program.
Yes.
And I think I'm looking forward to it because the kids will benefit a lot from this, and adults. I mean, whoever wants. I'm totally for mixing generations, like not just keeping per age group. So thank you, Alex, and we'll see you next week at the same time.
All right, sounds good.
Thank you
so much.
Thank you, Marlene. Thank you for your help.